How do you look, if you look back at your career path, because you were in at Crunchbase, Slack, Zapier, Morgan Stanley early on. Like when you look back now to your career, how does it look for you?
Yeah, I would say overall, with my career, I think I just kind of followed like what felt good and left what didn't feel good, essentially. Like sometimes that didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. I think there's this perception that you need to stay 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Obviously, kind of career tenures are getting shorter. You're not seeing people stay like 10 or 20 years anymore at one place, but I tend to have shorter stints at some spots, mostly because one, like, it didn't feel good. I didn't feel like set up for success. Maybe the culture wasn't a good fit for me. And so I always try to listen to my own gut and how I felt, and decided to make a lot of career leaps, which, ultimately helped me find opportunities that were better fits, that I think were a better balance for my working style. I used to work in office. Now I love working remotely. And even just like over time, learning how to set better work boundaries. Like I'm really big on not working more than 40 hours a week at work. I'm really good about, shutting my laptop down. I don't answer emails. My Slacks are turned off. So I think as I went through my career, I think a lot of it's just like finding like work I enjoy, and then just getting better at like making sure work stays within work hours. So I have a life outside of work as well.
Was it always like that?
With like the work-life balance, or just kind of moving around?
Yeah, to be able to shut actually your laptop, and or like focusing on the 40-hour work week. Like, was it always like that, or did you have to learn it?
I would say it's a combination of learning, and then I think I read 2 books that particularly influenced me. I think a lot of people have probably read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and this idea of like, mini retirement and like enjoying life. So I think that really showed me that it's important to enjoy life right now and not wait for when I'm like 60 plus to enjoy my retirement. But the other was reading Deep Work by Cal Newport. So learning that we're only capable of 2 to 3, max 4 hours of deep cognitive work in a day kind of showed to me that the whole idea of the 40-hour work week is a very old remnant of the Industrial Revolution of Ford, basically. Like he created the 40-hour work week. But humans aren't actually meant to work if it's like a high cognitive task for 40 hours a week. So I think once that registered, I basically dedicate like 2 to 3 really good hours in the morning. That's sort of my like peak work hour to get like the highest priority tasks done. And then later in the day, I often do my calls or my emails. And after 8 hours, there's a lot of research that shows there's diminishing returns in working more. It's not going to help. So I think once I internalized that and saw there was a lot of research backing up the fact that it does not help me or the company for me to work longer than 40 hours a week, it made me feel more confident in setting those boundaries with work and just stopping working. And the work gets done as long as I meet my goals. Like it doesn't matter like how many hours I'm putting in.
That's so cool to hear, though. But do you think it is also the same for, business owners?
I think it's tricky with business owners. I think a lot of it's just like having discipline for yourself. So I would say there's maybe 2 camps I would think of. One could say like, if you really enjoy the work you do, it doesn't feel like work. Like I run my side hustles and like those I'll do for long hours, but it is like really enjoyable. Like my highest passion is usually like writing and talking to people. And so I made sure a lot of the businesses I built is centered around things I really enjoy doing. But on the flip side, there's always things I don't enjoy doing, right? Like there's like taxes, documentation, note-taking, the finances, doing sales outreach, right? There's a lot of things that isn't necessarily the most fun. I think that's when you kind of need to focus on your why to get through the things that aren't as fun. And then I think a lot of it is just a self-discipline being a business owner that obviously you care the most about your business compared to your employees, and you will probably work the hardest compared to your employees. But if that's a trade-off you're willing to make, then go for it. But you also have to know like the long-term repercussions of working long hours or not getting enough sleep. So I find like the best business owners who maybe like are entering like their 30s or 40s, which is actually, and there's a lot of research that shows the most successful entrepreneurs are actually in their 40s, not necessarily the 20-something that's in Forbes 30 under 30. I think a lot of them have just seen a lot of life, and they understand that they can't burn the midnight oil on both sides. So founders I've seen in their 40s actually have really good work-life balance. Like maybe it's a little intense in the beginning, but they're doing that to set up the foundation so it's scalable and so they can actually cut back their hours. I think most people like really do it because they want freedom of some sort, like financial, time, location. So I think it's just knowing why you're working the long hours in the beginning with maybe an eye towards, okay, I'm going to set up the systems right now so I can work less, or I need to also learn to shut off and give time to other things. So that's why I think it's so important to have passions, interests, friends, community, all of that outside of work so you have that kind of well-balanced life.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. Because listen, I turned 37 and I'm a business owner. I have 14 team members. I became a dad almost 2 years ago of twins. Thank you so much. So I have twin boys. So this is also something. And what I wanted to ask you is, you said you saw a lot of successful and well-balanced business owners who are in their 40s. Okay, so I'm on my way. I'm on my way getting there. But what I wanted to know is, do you think they started their businesses maybe in their 30s, and because they saw now what to do actually to have a more balanced life, they are just much better at it in their 40s?
Yeah, I would think so. I think a lot of like burnout can happen from people pleasing. I think it can happen from like maybe perfectionist tendencies. I think it can happen from, you're trying to prove a point. And I think when you're younger, you have that sense of imposter syndrome where you're trying to prove a point. I think when you're older, you just care less about other people's opinions, right? You're just trying to make your business work, right? And that's really all you care about. So I think your focus is on that and just making the business work and forgetting about the other stuff. So I think you can be a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more structured, and just set like firmer boundaries. Like, hey, maybe your biggest priorities are like your family, your sons, your team, their well-being, and your own well-being. And that's it. Like nothing else really matters. So you're good about ignoring all the other noise.
All right. Well, okay. So, let's make an experiment. Imagine, well, I don't want to say my name. I wrote down the question like, imagine your client, Matt, is around 35 years old, has 2 kids under 2. What a coincidence. And a business to run with near to 20 employees. What would you recommend him not to burn out?
I would say one, like, what are your like top 3 to 5 priorities every day? Like what's actually going to move the needle? Because I don't think you have time to do the other stuff. So it's almost like, what can you eliminate or delegate or outsource, and like be super, super strict on your priorities. I would say time blocking is a really great strategy. So switching costs, like each time you switch costs, I think you lose like 25 minutes of time. So developing this practice of like focus on the one task, do it for 90 minutes to about 3 hours. That's about how much deep work you can do in a day. So chunk out your priorities in these like little time blocks. Make sure you do it in your peak hours. So there are 3 to 5 hours in a day that you are most alert and most active. That could be the morning for you, that could be the afternoon, that could be at night, whatever that is. Do your high cognitive work in those hours, because you can finish in 3 hours when you're in a peak state, what could take you like a week if you're not in your peak state, right? So it's like optimizing your energy with the work. So that helps you be a little bit more efficient. Like exercise, hydration, meditation, movement, nature, right? Like really basic things. However much time you have, like if it's 30 minutes, get 30 minutes. Something is better than nothing, in my opinion. Not everyone's into meditation. I think just go for a walk. And then like just be around your loved ones. I think that's so important. Like being around people you care about and love. Like I think connection is like one of the most important things about being human. And that actually does help burnout, because burnout is basically like exhaustion physically, emotionally, mentally. And so like exercise, movement, and being around loved ones is actually what helps you complete stress cycles. So if you're ever stressed, just find somebody you really love and go laugh with them, and that should help.
That is actually the most beautiful tip that you can give, like an idea to how to avoid burnout. That was really nice. But you listed a lot of things, and I was like, before that, I was like, okay, so I have to do that, do that, do that, do that. So it kind of feels to me also to add up things, you know. So what I struggle most with is actually eating healthy, especially when I'm stressed out. So this is a response that I have, you know, I just grab whatever like is eatable. Then exercising is also something that I really struggle with to do regularly. But it has something to do also how I was brought up. Like, you know, sports wasn't always a thing to me. So maybe that reflects now in my adult life a little bit. And also hydration is also like these basic things you're mentioning, I just kind of lack. But I know other people lack too, you know, like it's not just, I always thought, oh, it just must be me, but yeah, I'm not alone.
Oh, you're like so not special. Yeah. I think in cases like that, it's really basic stuff. Like I have friends who have like the 1 gallon water bottle and they keep it next to their laptop, like doing that. Like I have like a really big water bottle. I actually find if you have a bigger water bottle, you're more likely to drink more versus like a small cup of glass because you have to keep refilling it. So even like little things, yeah, like get a bigger water bottle. That's going to make you drink more. I swear it works. To exercise, I think a lot of people think like, holy crap, like I need to exercise like 30 minutes to 60 minutes 5 times a day. That is a lot, especially if you're getting started, if you don't have that habit. I just say like start with 10 minutes, like do a 10-minute like jumping jack and high knees routine right next to your desk. Like any movement is better than none, and it's building the habit. Just like when someone starts investing, right? You just start with like $50 a month. It's not a lot. It's not gonna like help you like retire, but it's building the habit. So you gotta start small and be specific and just show your body and yourself that this is something you do and that you like it, and then over time you end up increasing the time because it just feels good. And what was the other thing you said? Like movement, hydration. What was the other one? Eating. Yeah. If it's like financially feasible, meal prep, like have like meals already made. Or I have the worst sweet tooth in the world, so I at least make sure there's no candy or chocolate at home. Like dried fruits is like my equivalent of candy. So you can make these like little swaps, because I say like we have a monkey brain. Like when we're stressed, our monkey brain is operating and we just like are hungry or we're like fidgety and we're not thinking with our human brain of, we all know what's good for us, right? We know what's good for us. We don't do it. So it's almost like, how do you hijack the monkey brain and just keep good things around you so you end up being forced to do the good thing versus the bad thing?
It sounds so logical, you know, but to me, it is so hard to implement in my daily life. But I think I'll make it. I believe in myself. I will make it happen. I'll buy a bigger water bottle. Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea though. That's so cool. So, but you experienced yourself burnout, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely have before.
Yeah, you had that. Okay. So it's a long time ago, or?
Probably like a few years ago. Like I go through like seasons of it. I think basically like it can happen, but I know when it's happening, so I can deal with it a lot faster and get myself out of that state.
What are your top 3 signs that you say, oh, now I have to be careful?
If I'm noticing like very lethargic energy, like if I'm just like tired in the middle of the day for no reason, and just not feeling motivated or excited by things that normally motivate me or excite me, that's a big one. If I'm also kind of like you, if I'm not eating particularly healthy, or I'm like emotionally eating or stress eating. So I love candy, I love sweets, I love dessert, I love cakes. So if I'm eating a lot of that, that's usually a sign I'm very stressed. And even if and if I'm just like not connecting with my loved ones, like if I want to be more alone than around people I really enjoy being around, whether it's my friends or my parents, that's usually a sign that, okay, if I don't even have the energy to hang out with the people I love, like something needs to change in my work environment so I can get that energy back.
That's nice though. I always thought that, you know, having the desire to be alone is actually just because you're exhausted and you just wanted to chill a little bit, you know. But you're now going the opposite way. You're like, if you have the desire to being alone, go hang out with somebody you love. That's all right. That's
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends if you're like introvert or extrovert. Like I'm extroverted, so like I get energy from people. So if I'm not getting energy from people, that's usually a sign for me. I do like my alone time, but if I'm like, spending like 90% of my time alone, that's a signal to me that something's off.
all right. Yeah. Well, it's so different for everybody, right? It's so different. Yeah, but you just mentioned before that you have your side hustles that you do, right? What is your current side hustle?
Yeah, so I do two things mostly. So I have a ghostwriting agency. So I write social content on LinkedIn and I write email sequences and educational email courses for executive coaches or execs who are looking to, one, like build their personal brand, increase their following, become more of a thought leader, and then convert a lot of their convert their lurkers to subscribers and then potential customers. So I help a lot of them with that content because they're really busy, but I love writing for them and I really enjoy that. And then the other side of it is I help people actually start writing on LinkedIn. I think a lot of people, like you and I both exist on LinkedIn, right? And we see all these people post, but the reality is I think it's like 99% of people on LinkedIn don't post. They're like lurkers. So only 1% really post. So I think a lot of people have the desire. I think there's this importance of building a personal brand. So I help people get over that initial hump, like the perfectionism, the imposter syndrome, the compare to others, and teach them like what's working on LinkedIn right now. So like how to write hooks, how to like create content ideas, how to pick your I always say like don't pick your niche, like just like pick like one person who has one specific problem that you can solve. So I kind of help them get started on like the 0 to 1, and then if they're like at the 1 and want to outsource it, that's what the ghostwriting agency comes in. I help with the 1 to end with the ghostwriting agency.
Oh, that's cool. So you have like it's a funnel system that you have actually, right? All right, that's nice. But do you think that everybody who watches TV wants to have an own TV show?
Not necessarily, but if they do, we can help, you know? So yeah.
That's a good one. That was nice. All right. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's much easier to write than to start a TV show. So absolutely. Absolutely. So how do you support though? Like what are the first 3 steps you go through with somebody who shows interest in, starting to write on LinkedIn, for example?
Yeah, for sure. So I have like a 7-day crash course that people can sign up for. So it's literally startwritingonli.com. So they can go to that URL. There they can sign up for a 7-day crash course where I literally like walk them through everything I wish I knew when I first started writing on LinkedIn. So how to overcome like the 5W mindset, how to pick who you want to write for, how to write hooks that stop the scroll, how to come up with endless content ideas, and then the 4 types of posts are working right now, and then how to eventually monetize that. So they'll go through the 7-day crash course and that'll give them at least like the foundation of like, cool, here are my 3 content pillars. This is how I can write my hooks. This is my first 30-day content strategy, which I kind of provide them at the end. Then I have a free weekly newsletter where I basically just give people prompts like Mad Lib style, like here's a hook you can use, apply it to your niche or your expertise, and this will work. And then if they want to upgrade, I have a paid newsletter, and basically I'll give them 4 weekly prompts, because I think you and I know the thing with LinkedIn is you have to be consistent, so you need to post somewhere between 4 to 6 times a week, and it's really hard to come up with all of those ideas. I do that work for people, so I give them their 4 to 5 weekly prompts. I can kind of show them how to use like AI to kind of help speed up their writing, and then I also give them a community. It's really lonely to write on LinkedIn, and I think most of LinkedIn is I like this, I think it was a quote from Neil O'Grady, which is LinkedIn is 50% content, 50% networking. So I try to give people a community where they can meet other up and coming creators who, need help, need feedback, want engagement. So kind of give them a community of support. And my goal is to like, just with that, they should be able to get to their first 10,000 followers. I think if you're just like consistent and you write and you're engaging with other people who are in similar niches, within a few months, you absolutely can get to 10,000 followers. Like that was my own journey. And then once you're at that point and you want to monetize, or you're kind of thinking like a little bigger picture, like digital course or coaching or whatever that is, I'll have a course that kind of just goes a little bit more in depth into all of that. And then if you want to outsource that, then I have the agency. So then I can kind of do all of that for somebody. If, you know, I've met business owners who've been working for like 20 years who have like multi 7-figure, multi 8-figure businesses who, you know, they're running their business. They don't have time to do that, but they understand the value of building a personal brand, or they want to move away from running the day-to-day operations and they want to move towards like an education business. So I can be really helpful for them to position themselves as leaders, because there could be, you've probably seen this, there could be someone on LinkedIn, they have like 200 connections, but they run $100 million business. Like there's a lot of people like that. So I help them like build their own presence on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So this is actually what I wanted to ask you next. Like, what is, like, you know, these people are obviously busy. It's not easy to run a multi-million-dollar business. So they are on LinkedIn because maybe they have to somehow, or, you know, to share their whatever wins they have with their company and so on. So, and those people are the ones that are reading, that are lurking, as you said before, right? So, okay. So, yeah, so what I think is difficult actually to reach out to those people, because they already have accomplished a lot of things. So maybe they think like, okay, why to have a personal brand on LinkedIn? I already make several hundred millions. What's your answers to that?
Yeah, so I let them, there's a few things. I think it depends if you can catch them on their transition or inflection point. The reality is these people have been working so hard, they don't want to work anymore. They want like freedom, right? They want time freedom. They want to spend time with their family. I think a lot of them care about legacy and giving back. That's like a very common trait I've seen in these really successful business owners. Like a lot of them came from nothing or worked really hard and they built something really lucrative, and they basically want to help the next generation pass their knowledge and maybe just transition to a business that takes up a little less of their like day-to-day decision making and kind of just runs on autopilot. I think that's the beauty of an online business. So I usually am educating them about the scalability of an online business, the ability to leave a legacy, and to not work as hard but make like very similar money. So with that, most people are like usually pretty interested. And then if we can kind of do most of the work for them in building their brand and building their business and sending them customers on autopilot, helping them hire like a team around them, like that's a pretty good deal for them.
I mean, it sounds good to me too. Like, you know, it's really nice. It's really nice. How did you come up with that idea though? Like, you know, if I look on your, let's say, resume on LinkedIn, I wouldn't find the clues for that. So what was the needle for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So like, as you know, my day job, like I work in tech as a marketer, but I've always been interested in like online businesses and online business models. That's almost been like my hobby on the side. Like I think I started with reading The 4-Hour Workweek. I read that maybe my first or second year in college. So I think that sort of introduced to the world this idea of an online business, right? And then as I was doing my day job in tech, I literally spent my nights just like learning about these business models, taking a lot of courses, reading more books, connecting with other creators. And then I used to write on LinkedIn as a ghostwriter when I was in college as well. Like it was a lot easier to do than working in the cafeteria essentially. And that kind of showed me the power of like brand building and then turning that into a business. And then as I kind of, you know, hit this inflection point in my own career, you know, I've been working for a few years and really enjoyed tech, but would come to LinkedIn and be like, oh, who are these new creators? They just kind of came out of nowhere and their content's really good. I think I could write the same thing. You know, there's a sense of like, they're not that much different than me. They're not more special. So why not me? And so I think in the last year, I started making an investment in myself to be like, okay, I want to see if I can build this brand. And in doing that, I ended up falling in love with basically like how to write for social, how to write on LinkedIn, how to help other people monetize their own online businesses as I build my own online business. And I think at the end of the day, it's so lucrative, but it's kind of a gated world. Like unless you're inside of it, spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, you don't really know the types of businesses you could build. And so for me, that's my legacy, and the way I want to give back is like helping other people who are the lurkers who might be interested, just kind of show them like, hey, like, you can do this. You have a skill set or an expertise that other people are interested in. If you just follow this roadmap or this blueprint, you can do it too. So I think that's sort of my goal, is to democratize this process. Tech is still there. Like, it's always going to be there, but I'm kind of like, this is such a cool opportunity. Why not now?
Yeah, that's so cool though. I mean, I was just always, like, I'm also on LinkedIn, but not as often as maybe I should be, let's say. But I sometimes see the same content from different content creators all around. Like, these are the 5 YouTube videos you should watch. These are the 5 TED Talks you should check out. These are the 10 books you should read, and it's mostly the same things over and over again. And I was like, all right, so I mean, this is just, okay, thanks a lot. Like, if somebody sees it for the first time, that's nice. But if you are on the platform and you see it daily, then you're like, all right, so what's my bigger advantage as a follower maybe? So how can you help maybe differentiate the content for your clients or for other people?
Yeah, so when I work with clients, I basically say there are three types of posts that you have to make. There are reach posts. That tends to be the TED Talks, the books. You're basically creating posts that has the broadest audience that can really apply to anybody, because you basically want to get these followers. You want them following you and you want them seeing your content. And so something that's kind of broad, like 5 TED Talks that is going to help you be more productive, or if you're kind of in the leadership management space, right, like 5 books that is like a personal MBA, right? Like, that's kind of your top of funnel awareness. Then the second type of post is like thought leadership post. So that's actually showing your credibility and your expertise. That's where you really talk about what you're good at. That's where you share your point of view, your opinions. You might not get as much like likes or follows or engagement, but you are showing the people who are following you that you are incredibly good at what you do. And if they actually want your skill set, like, you are an expert. So that is where you might say you're an executive coach. That is where you might talk about how to deal with team conflict, how do you do digital transformation, maybe a case study with one of your customers or something like that, and how you helped them. So that's where I say you need a spiky point of view or like an opinion. Again, you're not looking for like the most engagement. You're showing your credibility and your thought leadership. And then the third type of post is sort of your sales post, whatever service or product you're trying to sell. That's where you can do like case studies, past clients, their success, how you help them, and you send them to, book a call with you or try a free demo of your product. So yes, you're going to see a lot of those like books and TED Talks and stuff, but I think the trick is like, if you're somebody who's considering doing this, the way I think about it is like, do 2 of those posts a week, 2 of your thought leadership and credibility, and 1 of your sales posts. So like, if you're posting 5 times a week, which is about, I think, roughly how often you want to post on LinkedIn to really build it up, split your content that way. And that way you won't like hate yourself for always writing these like 10 books that you should always read.
That's a good idea though. I think it's a good healthy splits that you mentioned. What do you think about, wait a second, I just have to check my questions again. Sorry for that. Well, you just mentioned something that caught my interest. You had these pillars. I'm just trying to, and then you said, okay, you want to post like 5 times a week. I mean, that's quite hard, isn't it? Like, because these are like 20 posts a month. Do they have to be always really different from each other, or what do you think about repurposing content?
Very for repurposing content, and I'm very for actually batch writing your content. So I post 5 times a week and I can get all the writing done in under 2 hours a week. So it doesn't take a lot of time if so I can kind of explain like my strategy on like how I am able to make it super efficient. So essentially, like, during the week, I'm just like on my phone thinking of ideas, or if I'm in the shower, I have these ideas. And I think as you post more, ideas come to you. Like, everything feels like a content idea. I think you probably understand this. So you want to know what your three pillars are, like what are the three things you really want to talk about. So I tend to do like personal development, perfectionism, burnout stuff that I talk about, like how to write on LinkedIn, how to write hooks and strategies. And then I kind of write, like, I can write for you if you want me to write for you, and why you need to build a personal brand. So those are like my three pillars. So I'm constantly just thinking of ideas in those three worlds. Then I tend to write on the weekends because I have my day job. So every Saturday morning or Sunday morning, like Friday night, I pick the 5 ideas. I don't have the hooks or anything, but I know what I'm roughly going to write about. And then Saturday morning, I just like sit down. I'm like, cool, let's just finish it. And there's simple things you can do to make it faster. Like make everything a listicle. That's just going to help you like structure your writing a lot faster. Make it conversational. This is where you can use things like Google or ChatGPT. Like if you're looking for just like something to get rid of the blank page and you want strategies, tips, those are really like, you can use ChatGPT to just get your ideas flowing. And then I always say just add your own spin or add your own voice or just give more context or clarity to what the computer is giving you. That's where you really show you're a thought leader. And then what was the other question you had? So that's like my writing process, and that's how I finish it. I think you had like a second question.
Well, what the process is, just like to putting it really down. So you just describe the thoughts behind it, but how do you put it down though?
Yeah. So I tend to do carousels quite often. That I think is, for me, the highest leverage type of post you can do for the least amount of time. Cheat sheets are particularly popular right now, but they do take a lot of time to make. But I say anybody who wants to get started, you can do a simple text post with like an image. Those are pretty popular right now, or a carousel. So you just can create like a simple slideshow and then you turn it into a PDF. So I would say focus on those two types of posts if you're getting started. Honestly, like the text-based image post is even easier because you literally just put a quote or the opening hook of your text, and then just in the text just write, I'm trying to think of an example. Like if I was talking about perfectionism, it could be like 7 tips to overcome perfectionism from a recovering perfectionist, right? And you just write tip 1, like ship it at 90%. Add a couple lines. Tip 2, tip 3, tip 4, tip 5, and then at the end you say, follow me if you want more posts like that. And that's it. That's like, as long as you don't overthink it and you're like, this is good enough. Like you have to, I think that's the mindset part of it. I know some people who take 90 minutes to write one post. I think a lot of it's just perfectionism and worrying what other people say. That is a muscle you have to build. I found the way I dealt with it is I just kept posting. And I think if you write 5 posts at a time and you just schedule them all out, you don't let the perfectionist kick in that morning that you're supposed to post because it's already scheduled. It's done. So that's why I'm a big fan of like write everything in one go, do it on the weekend, and then schedule it out for the week. So that way you don't let like your brain's like weird stuff going on the day. You're like, cool, it's already out. Now I just need to go post, engage, comment with other people. So if you can, honestly, like a timer is really good for perfectionists. Like you just give yourself 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, you're like, whatever is done is done. It's good enough because people won't remember. Oh, and repurposing. Yes, very, very for repurposing because new people will constantly find you and they will have not read your old content. So I think after 3 months, definitely repurpose your best content. And the other thing I would say is humans really like repetition. You're supposed to eat healthy. You're supposed to drink water every day, right? You're supposed to exercise, right? But you still need to hear it, right? So humans actually really like repetition. Even I think there's like a marketing stat that somebody needs to see an ad 7 times before they actually click it and then end up purchasing the product. So don't be afraid to repeat yourself because it actually like makes you the it person in that person's mind for the thing for the topic you write about. So you can just change a few words, put a different spin to it, but it's totally okay to write about the same things over and over and over again. James Clear has been talking about habits for God knows how long. He is the habit guy, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's totally okay to repurpose and repeat yourself. People like it.
Yeah, I think so too, though. I think so too. So my LinkedIn journey actually started with my 5-year anniversary of being a business owner. And then I posted a picture of me. And then the hook was something like 5 things you don't need to start a business or something like that. Because 5 years, 5 things, I just thought that's clever or something like that. So it turned out really well though. Like people enjoyed it. I was like, well, that was actually easy to me because it was something that I know about, to write about it. What do you think about people who sell advice, but they never made the experience themselves?
I don't think that's a good idea. Personally, I would say I think there's two types of content creators you can be. Either you are the expert, so in your past you have done the thing and therefore you are sharing your expertise, your credibility, and your knowledge, or you are the learner and the person who's super curious. So you're not positioning yourself as an expert, but rather somebody who's really interested in learning the thing, and then you pull on the credibility or expertise of other people. So you yourself might not be an expert on like investing, but maybe you read a lot of Warren Buffett, right? Or you read a lot about Ray Dalio. So you might post like things I learned from reading Warren Buffett, things I learned from reading Ray Dalio. So you're not positioning yourself as an expert, but you're positioning yourself as like curious and an educator and like a learner, and people want to follow that journey with you as you're learning. You're doing all the hard work for them and distilling. So I think that's a way to like share knowledge without pretending to be you're an expert, but still showing your expertise or your curiosity. And then I think over time, as you do that and you learn more, you become a little bit more of an expert. But I always say, like, don't write about something you don't know. Like, I think people will sniff that.
I see that sometimes though. I see that a lot, like it's like, having a life coach, which is like 22. But I mean, you can make a lot of life experiences until you're 22. But let's say you had like a pretty standard upbringing or something like that, and then you try to advise people on how to turn their lives back to positivity or something that I find difficult. It's like going to the gym and having somebody instructing you who's overweight, right? It's like, what are you doing, man? It's like, yeah. So this is what I wanted to say. So that's quite interesting. When did you start with your LinkedIn journey though? I just saw yesterday, I guess, you're about to hit your 10K followers, right?
Yeah, I am. I think I started, so I've been a lurker since probably like 10 years ago. So I used to, I think I've been a lurker for 10 years. I used to ghostwrite in college, so it's almost 10 years ago now. I really started only like, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, like really deciding to take this seriously. And as you kind of mentioned, I'm about to hit 10K probably this week. So it kind of shows like if you make the effort and you invest in it and you're consistent and you also like have a good strategy in place, like if I could do it, like I was kind of like a nobody on LinkedIn. I don't even have like particularly impressive professional accolades, I would say, because I don't even write about marketing, which is my day job. So if I can hit like 10K in like 3 months, I absolutely think anybody else can if you're just consistent with it. So that's kind of what I want to, kind of want to help other people do. Like, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
It's actually something that I say too, like people are saying, well, man, you started a business, now you grew it to 20 people, almost you have now 2 offices here and there. Like, how did you do it? I said, listen, I don't know. I just started to do it. And I think like if I can do it, you probably can too. It's really like, I deeply believe that. I really believe that if I can do it, that you really can, because I don't think that I have any kind of superpowers. I was just like, I'm going to try this. And I just stuck to it. And now here we are, so.
I have like a personal saying, which is it only stops working if you quit. I think like most of anything in life is just persistence and consistency. So yeah, it only stops working if you quit. If you show up every day, it's going to move forward. So it only stops if you stop.
So your main channel is LinkedIn, right? Do you also try to, do you also try to be on other channels?
Not right now. I'm a big fan of like just focus on one thing and really figure it out and see what works and what doesn't work. So I think I'll personally just be on LinkedIn for the next, I want to say like 6, 7, 8 months. I think somewhere next year, halfway through, I might consider X or Twitter. I might consider like, I love video as another platform, so I might consider TikTok or Instagram. But right now, like I just want to get really, really good on LinkedIn because I think I think it's the best platform for anybody who's new, because it's so content efficient that and you just have all these decision makers. I think if you're a person who wants to start a business, it's probably the best platform because it's so professionally orientated and you have all the decision makers on it. So I don't think any platform really does that right now.
Yeah, that's so true. But I do advise not to go on X anymore, to be honest, even though it's written word, but it doesn't look good for the platform so far.
No, I don't think so. That's kind of why I stayed away from it. I feel like the algorithm's not great. I just think the leadership is interesting right now. So
Yeah, especially. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but what do you think about the video on LinkedIn?
What's really interesting is I'm still pretty bullish on video with LinkedIn. Like, I think LinkedIn itself is prioritizing videos getting more reach and more engagement, but still right now I still think it's a text heavy platform, right? I still see carousels doing best, cheat sheets are doing better, image based text posts are still getting the most engagement. I think there'll be an inflection point, but I almost think it's going to come from like the bottom up. Like, I think if you start seeing like a lot of the top creators on LinkedIn like really leaning into video, I think you're going to see like a second wave of other people then kind of lean into it. But right now it's not, how like TikTok leveraged Instagram, right, for video, like they were able to just kind of like cross promote. I don't think you can do that with LinkedIn right now or yet. And I still think people almost feel like there still has to be a little bit more of a professional angle, and videos to me are very inherently, or at least like the TikTok, Instagram style video or reels are still very, not like unprofessional, but just more personal, more authentic. I don't know if the LinkedIn audience is quite there yet. I think professional videos could work, but then they almost feel too scripted. So it's like, where's that in between? I think sometime next year, video, I think will start to pick up a little bit more, but at least not right now. I'm not really seeing the engagement with it.
Well, I don't believe actually that it has to be really professional on LinkedIn. Like that is, it feels like it's scripted or something like that. So I think there are a lot of also thought leaders on LinkedIn who are creating videos on Instagram. And then they are repurposing that for, not even repurposing, they're just cross-posting actually. They're just posting the same video. And it does quite well. What I observed is that the engagement is much higher, but the reach is not that much in comparison to written words, So you may have maybe a lot of comments or likes on a video, but then you see like, all right, so I just reached 5,000 people. And with the carousel, I reached 20,000 people, but had the same amount of comments or something like that. So this is quite interesting to see. But I also believe that there will be somehow a shift coming up in the next 12 months. So, I mean, I don't know. I just learned so much in just a few minutes. Thank you so much for that. And I just wanted to know, by the end for the show, where can somebody find you if they want to know more about you?
Yeah, so a few places. So obviously, like, come find me on LinkedIn. So I'm Samanee Mahbub. So if you type me in the search, I should pop up. If you want to get started writing on LinkedIn and you kind of just want help with that, like that first 10,000, you go to startwritingonli.com. There you'll see my 7-day crash course where I'll kind of just walk you through everything, and I'll kind of like feed you into the weekly newsletter where I send you weekly prompts. And then if you're interested in outsourcing the writing and you don't want to do it and you want someone else to do it, you can go to ghostwithsam.com, and that's my ghostwriting agency. So that's where I help people with LinkedIn growth strategy, building out newsletters, building out email courses. So helping people build like a full funnel of like an online business based off of LinkedIn. So those are the two spots.
Awesome. I'll make sure that it will be linked in the show notes so that people can click on. Samanee, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. All right. We see you on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Thanks. Bye.